All right. What a week to be a ring announcer and a collector here in the Mountain State. Whew, I look a little tired. It's because I am. Back on the channel, we went to the Great Ohio Toy Show. We got a VIP pass on Friday night, which was the way to go. And so I'm going to go over the Great Ohio Toy Show, our first time in Xenia, Ohio. And we're going to talk a little bit about Halloween Mayhem. Thanks for watching here on the channel. I appreciate everybody that's tuned in, all the new subscribers. And thanks to Steve Barker for the help on the audio on that last video. I don't even think my microphone was on, but we're working really good this week. Halloween Mayhem was amazing. And as I told you guys on the last video, I've been wearing the same jacket every year. It's got the pumpkins on it, and people always give me good compliments on it. And I got it like 7 or 8 years ago. I've been wearing it almost the entire time I've been ring announcing. And I told you guys I was going to get something new and shake it up this year. And I'm happy to report, as I'm going to show in the photos, I did the exact same jacket that I've always done. And people were excited to see it again. So who knows? This jacket may live forever in ASW history for Adam Harris, friendly neighborhood ring announcer, and our Halloween Mayhem shows. Man, where to start? It was such a great show, great crowd. Our Halloween shows are always amazing. Bishop Baylor came away with the new Boone County Championship, ended the historic reign of Noah Ray, but he pinned Evil Nate in the finish of the triple threat match. So plenty more to be told in that story, but congrats to our boy Bishop Baylor, the Regatta Pro Wrestling champion, picking up his first gold in ASW, first singles gold there. Congratulations. The ladies had what would probably be match of the night. Lena Cross from Perth, Australia, made her first appearance in West Virginia, as far as I know, and at ASW, and took on Nurse Micah. What a match! I can't wait to watch that back on the ASW YouTube channel because it was definitely one of her best opponents. And they both rose to the occasion. Crowd was into it. There was boo, yay spots all over the place. And Micah once again getting the tap out victory to retain ASW championship. And then wow, oh wow, it was great to have Headbanger Thrasher, who made it right before bell time. And as a card subject to change main event type thing, our former ASW champ Heath Slater stepped in and filled in as an honorary headbanger, teaming with Thrasher to take on DD Trash. And man, this was a surreal moment in the ring with referee Talise Starseeker, who mentioned something on Facebook about it being a pinch me moment for her as a Headbangers fan back in the day. And I got to say, it was so fun to be in the ring and experience that wild ride of that match. And of course, Ron and Bruce walked away, still the ASW tag team champions. And everybody was raising hands and strutting at the end of the night, as DD Trash always does with their manager, Glamorous Gary. And in a crazy main event, Jack Sharp and Kirk Blackman had it out in a fans bring the weapons match. And it ended in mayhem, of course, all leading up to War Games next month. We're going to be talking a lot more about that. Thanks to everybody that came out and did the costume contest. We had amazing costumes once again this year at the Halloween Mayhem show. People came as ASW stars, as WWE stars, of course, horror costumes. It was great. I love the ASW Halloween show, and looking forward to War Games. But it was a heck of a long weekend. Did ASW Halloween Mayhem the night after. We spent 5 hours of the day on Friday browsing at the Great Ohio Toy Show. Man, what an experience that was. I'm going to show you what I picked up at the end of the video. Tell you a little bit about the show. There's been tons of YouTubers who have gone to this show, and there's a reason, because even the vendors talk about how it's the best one that they go to. It's in Xenia, Ohio, on the Greene County Fairgrounds. 7 buildings. There were 3 smaller buildings, 4 larger buildings. And the reason I found out about it was going to Dayton and visiting the vintage Route 68 Vintage Toys and Collectibles. I got to talk to the manager there, Danielle, who was great. That store is amazing, impeccably organized. You should check that out if you're in Dayton. And next door is the Toy Mall with over 60 vendors, a lot of whom were at this event, to the Great Ohio Toy Show. But I got to talking to Danielle. She said, "Oh, we're having a show coming up in October." And I said, "I know about it. My friend Matt had just been to that store and he told me about it." And I said, "I got to announce ASW that day. There's no way we'll be able to go and be there and still be back in time to announce the Headbangers." So I told her that. I said, "Oh, I have to work on Saturday." And she said, "Well, what are you doing Friday?" And sure enough, they have a VIP thing where you just paid to get admission a day early as the vendors are setting up. And so I got me, my friend Jeff, and my buddy Matt, who told me about it. We got it paid up and on the list, and we drove to Xenia, Ohio. We even scheduled off work to go nerd out over toys for an entire day. It took us about 3 hours, a little less than 3 hours to get there. And we spent 5 hours roaming all 7 buildings. And I didn't really know what to expect. I thought we were going to be in over our head. And it was a little bit like that. It was overwhelming. The first building was overwhelming to start with. And I got to talking to one of the vendors, and I realized, like, oh man, if you start chit chatting with all the vendors that this long, then it's going to be a long day. So eventually it turned into just head down, scanning around, making sure that, because we wanted to make sure we got in all 7 buildings. Some of the advice that I had heard that I wish we had taken was to start with the small buildings and work your way around to the larger ones. But we started in one of the larger buildings because that's where registration was. And so we just started there. And we kind of just roamed around. We didn't have a plan. It was like having a third set of eyes. Everybody was looking for the things that everybody else was looking for. One of the buildings was clearly the high dollar building. It was the nicest one, even carpet on the floor. As soon as we stepped in, my buddy Matt said, "Oh, I don't think we're supposed to be here," because there was so many high dollar items. One of which I remember was the Macho Man Stretch'em. I think it was LJN in a box. And my buddy Matt even asked, because he collects Macho Man stuff, like, what do you got on that Macho Man there? And the guy, I think he said $1,200 or something like that, like some really high dollar stuff, which is always fun to see. All the vendors were super nice. And in honor of, American pickers, we were offering bundles. We were bundling all the time. And a lot of the dealers were open to that. You grab a couple things from the table and say, hey, what can we do on this? Or say, would you take this much? And man, the vendors were all so cool. We all found a little something to take home, regardless whether I had a list of things. And I did see some of the things that I was looking for, a couple of which I bought, but most of which I bought was, of course, not on the list, just some stuff I saw. And I turned down a lot of stuff. I'm proud of how I did. I'm going to show you guys what all I came home with here on the channel. Thank you guys for watching and liking, subscribing. I'm doing the research on my PWI 500, all 25 guys that I've announced into the PWI 500. And so I'm doing the research, and I am going to do a good job on that video. And so thanks for liking and subscribing and sticking around on the channel. I'm going to try to keep these videos up. And I'm still learning here on YouTube. So appreciate you guys. Send me some feedback. And make sure you're following me at WV Fig Hunters on Instagram. All right, switched up the light a little bit here in hopes that I can show you some of the stuff that I got at the Great Ohio Toy Show. Shout out to Danielle. Thank you for the invite. And Rob, who put on an amazing show. They do it in March and they do it in October. And I was really stoked that we did the VIP thing, because you could tell the next day I was following along on Facebook. There were so many people at this toy show, and we wouldn't have been able to browse with quite the leisurely passion that we were on Friday as we would have been able to on Saturday. There would have been people around at all times. And so while that's great for them, definitely enjoyed having access to getting in on Friday nights. Some people said that may have been the first year that they did that. I hope they keep doing it, because I would love to go back sometime and enjoy that. Not something I was looking for sure, but this was in a box of loose figures that were only $2 each. And so I'm already nostalgic for John Cena. The retirement of Cena is upon us. This year is going to be super Cena nostalgic. Picked the Sherry up as part of a bundle. My friend Matt was always wheeling and dealing. And so if there's anything on the table that we were both looking at, he'd pick it up and we'd compile that. This one's going to go along with that Legends Shawn Michaels on the toy shelf. And then another one that Matt bundled up that, again, wasn't on the list. As you can see behind me, my LJN collection. Boy, I found a nice Bobby Heenan clean. And this was on the same table where Matt Sutton was able to get his Macho Man wrestling buddy checked off the list. So congrats to Matt also for a big boy pickup there. It was one of the things he was looking for, and we found it almost immediately at a great price. He's got the proud owner of a Macho Man wrestling buddy. Another thing that was on my list was the Monday Night War Harlem Heats. And so I was in the market for the Booker T in the black and the Stevie Ray in the blue. This guy had both of them, but he was a little more than I was willing to pay for the blue Stevie Ray. So I left that one and walked out with the black Booker T, and I bundled it with another figure that I'm going to show you in a minute. But this was an unexpected thing. Was not $35. This was unexpected, but this company MOC made packages. Great idea to show up at a toy show with some boxes, and so I was able to even package up this Booker T for the trip home. And I got a couple of retro defenders. I've got an autographed Papa Shango that I'm hoping is going to fit just perfectly. So shout out to those guys. Great table. He had all different kinds of figures in the cases, so you could visually see that, yeah, this is the size of the case you need. So that was great. He even gave me a sample of some other cases, and I'll put their information here in the video. MOC. It says, if you collect, you must protect. I love that slogan. A couple of books that I haven't even opened yet, but I'm looking forward to exploring from back in the day. You would maybe find these at the toy fair or at the book show at your elementary school. This says, has unused stickers inside, name written on the inside cover. The WWF Hogan wins the belt. 1985, it says on this one. I'm pretty sure I had this one. I haven't even opened it yet, but I'm pretty sure I had this one as a kid. And again, I think Sutton bundled this with a couple other things that with a dealer that he was working on and hooked me up with those. Not something I was looking for, but I'm always looking for WrestleMania, or either on DVD or on VHS. And I was pretty sure I had WrestleMania 20, and I was right. I do have WrestleMania 20, but I don't know if you can tell or not. This one is a nicer packaging. It's kind of a holographic front, and it's got the snap open case. And this one says, this is a different edition. This one is like the Koch Records release. And then this one, I don't know, maybe was available in a certain store or maybe from the website. But anyway, really cool and sturdy version of WrestleMania 20. Okay, two pretty sentimental ones for sure. This one was laying on the table right there in front of me. WrestleMania 11 and VHS. A really good box, really good shape. This is the first one I ever watched live at my friend Ricky's house with my friend Mike. First WrestleMania I ever saw live. The first pay-per-view I ever saw live. And it was sitting there on the table. Had a great time talking to that vendor and walked away, had to walk away with WrestleMania 12, the first WrestleMania I ever watched. This box is not in great shape, but I am not sure when or how I might see this again. I may upgrade it someday if possible, but it's 1991 SummerSlam. If you know anything about me, you know I love SummerSlam 91, not just because Macho Man and Liz got married, not just because of the match Made in Hell, but it is also, it's the first pay-per-view I remember watching at my friend Michael's house on VHS, like after, we didn't watch it live. But he had a tape of it, and I was so into Bret the Hitman Hart. And this is when he wins the Intercontinental title in front of Stu and Helen. It's my favorite match of all time. I think because I saw it as a kid, and I was just so into the idea of Bret Hart becoming the IC champion. Everything about that match is so perfect. The commentary, Stu and Helen there at ringside, Mr. Perfect selling, and of course the excellence of execution. Still one of my favorite matches, if not my favorite match of all time. I kind of overdid it on VHS. I'm just going to roll through these. These were all pretty cheap. And for some reason, I'm just into the idea of collecting VHS these days. The Princess Bride, Batman, the original Michael Keaton. My favorite movie of all time, of course, Ghostbusters. I hadn't seen this in a while. Maybe this is widely available. Do Beavis and Butthead Do America? And then I've also got, since it's hot right now, and this was representative of this year's Great Ohio Toy Show, Beetlejuice stuff everywhere. Beetlejuice having a moment here in 2024 for obvious reasons. So I overdid it on the VHS at the Great Ohio Toy Show. All right, two more items. Both are the result of us going back to find one of them. And then because dealers were setting up the entire time, I would say about a third or so, maybe 25% of the vendors either sat up and then maybe left or weren't set up the entire evening or had not set up yet. Most of them had set up. A lot of them were covered up. A lot of the tables were covered up. So by the time we hit all 7 buildings, we decided to go back and look for a couple things specifically, which is a bad idea. And you can very easily turn out to regret that. Thankfully, I didn't. It all worked out. We went back to find this. I had seen this. I don't think I owned one of these as a kid. It's the Ghostbusters lunch tray, but I remember this design. It was used pretty frequently on a few different items. from the real Ghostbusters days. And even though it says the real Ghostbusters here on the corner, like that's not what you think of as the Ghostbusters from the real Ghostbusters. It's such a cool design Slimer. Oh man. And so I saw this and like, but for whatever reason, I just said, if that's still here, I'm going to come back for it. But the whole time I was looking around, I was thinking, God, I hope that's still there. I hope that's still there. And so got a good deal on that at the end of the day. But because we went back to look for this, of course, some different dealers had arrived and were there set up at the show. And so some people we hadn't seen in the first or second building that we'd been in were now set up, including some guys who had an insane amount of wrestling figures. And they were just surrounded by wrestling figures. And we asked, can we dig through these wrestling figures? They said, yeah. Again, Matt found an amazing Macho Man Slim Jim. And that's where I found the Harlem Heat. And then I bundled that, asked the guy for a deal on this bad boy, which pretty much any Gold Dust figure I don't have is on the list. And this was sitting there on the table. What a beaut. It's in great shape. Card, as you can see, looking good. The Gold Dust Retro. Not an easy one to find. And I'll say I got both those figures, the Harlem Heat, Monday Night Wars, and this guy for $60, which is a great deal. And we found ourselves talking about all the great deals we got, and we could have, of course, gone back the next day. Our VIP passes were valid for the next day. And man, but the thought of even going back and experiencing another day of toy shopping was intense. So thanks to Matt and Jeff for going along on the ride. Thanks to Matt for driving. He's kind of non-negotiable about that. We had a great time. I did watch Bad Blood, at least the first match of Bad Blood, because our internet was out. And so I just now got to watch CM Punk versus Drew McIntyre. Holy cow, what a match. Brutal. Probably a match of the year candidate for a lot of people. A great way to end their feud. Both those guys having a moment. Don't know how long CM Punk will be around, man, but this last run is going to be a memorable one. And they mentioned that Drew McIntyre debuted at Bad Blood 15 years ago, which was amazing. Or maybe it was Hell in the Cell 15 years ago. And love the WWE production. They keep up in the game. They put in those stats as Punk and Drew McIntyre were walking to the ring. I just thought that was great. What a wonderful presentation of a brutal and bloody confrontation between Punk and McIntyre. I loved it. Thanks for watching. That's going to do it this week from the toy room here. We will be back soon with our PWI 500 video and much more. Thanks for watching. See you at the matches. See you next time.